Tighten up, man. Tighten up, chat. Tighten up, chat. Let's get it, chat.
Welcome everyone to MCA Live, the Music City Audible podcast live instant reaction. Titans fall 33-19 to the Los Angeles Rams, and we're going to give our thoughts now. I'm Justin Graver. Joining me, as always, Justin Melo. We are presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, in partnership with 440 Sports. Justin, that was a tough game because at halftime, the Titans have a 13-10 lead. Things are looking positive. They make some huge plays at the end of the half, complete opposite of how last week's end of first half played out. But in the second half, they just run out of steam and cannot keep up with the Rams. How is it going?
Yeah, I'm doing well. You know, I think this loss was, to sum it up, kind of par for the course for what the Titans are going to be this year. You know, they made some exciting plays. Again, as you said, near the end of the first half, they had a lead. I think you saw the path forward, obviously, with Cam Ward. Some of the rookies made some big plays in this game, both on offense and on special teams. But as the game progressed forward, they just run out of steam, right? Their roster is severely outmatched to a Rams team who won double-digit games last year. Certainly probably favorites to win the NFC West again this year. Maybe go as far as say contenders to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I think it's pretty
they were a play away from making the Super Bowl last year. If Jalen Carter doesn't get Matthew Stafford to the ground on that last play of the NFC Championship, the Rams are in the Super Bowl last year, and we have NFL history is rewritten. This was a very good team, and the Titans were very competitive in the first half. And I have to stress in the first half, because things I want to talk about on this reaction show. First off, let me just remind everybody, if you missed last week, if this is your first time tuning into a reaction show, this Sunday show, Justin and I are on Sunday through Thursday, a new show every day. And this particular Sunday show, this is kind of like a safe space episode, okay? We haven't reviewed the film, obviously. We haven't even listened to post-game press conferences. We are live right now, recapping the game immediately after it ends. If you're watching this after the fact, that's the context here. And tomorrow, on Monday's show, we're going to dissect this game a lot more analytically. We'll have absorbed a lot more information, watch some press conferences, probably rewatch the game by then. But right now, we are serving up fresh, hot reactions, all right? You good with that, chat? You good with that, Mello? Let us know if you're good with that in the chat, and we will continue. Because what I want to react to, just to lay it all out before we get into it, Cam Ward's first NFL touchdown pass, the playmaker that we all know him to be, showed up on that play. And the other thing I really want to talk about is how concerned are you about Brian Callahan's inability to make second-half adjustments? He has not made a second-half adjustment, it feels like, in 19 games as the Titans head coach. So we're going to get into that. But let's start with the exciting thing, because Cam Ward was stellar in the first half. As Justin pours a drink, shout out to Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville. Serving the community since 1985. Justin mentioned he was going to pour this beer, and we talked about it. It would either be a celebration beer or a misery beer. Maybe this can be both, Justin. Celebrate Cam Ward's first NFL touchdown while we drink away the sorrows of another Titans loss. I believe their 8th straight loss going back to last season. So, but Cam Ward, though, first half, full control of the game, was dealing the ball. Titans, shoot themselves in the foot again on the first possession of the game, back-to-back penalties. Set the offense back after they would have had a first down, the illegal man downfield that we're not so sure how legitimate that flag even was. But let's talk about Cam Ward's first half, Justin, because I thought he looked every bit the part of a number one pick.
Yeah, he certainly did. By the way, Brandon Aubrey just made a 64-yard field goal to send the Giants-Cowboys game into overtime. 64 yards. That's unbelievable. I thought Cam Ward looked really good during the first half, and I honestly thought, for the most part, Brian Callahan did a good job with the play calling in that half, believe it or not. They hit a couple explosives on misdirection. Seems like one of my buddies said they're spamming the same concepts over and over again. You could take that as a negative, but I thought with the weakness at right tackle, like you said, the first drive, you get the illegal, ineligible man downfield, then you get John Njoku takes a false start and then gives up a sack on the very next play. So you're dealing with a weakness there. Good job with some misdirection. They ran a lot of screen plays, but again, that's part of the quick game, right? Trying to get the ball out of Cam Ward's hands, trying to neutralize what was happening up front, some of the mismatches that were there in the trenches. But I thought Cam did have full control of the offense. I thought he looked accurate. I thought he made phenomenal decisions time and time again. I mean, I don't want to get all over the place, but there was that fourth down where, by the way, I liked that play call. I think it's going to be controversial, but they tried to hit the same, almost the same as week one. They tried to hit that throwback, it looked like, to the other opposite side of the field. And you know what? When it's 4th and 1, and I think you're expecting to get something short yardage, I think that's a pretty good time to call that play. But Cam didn't feel he had it. I'd like to see the all-22 on it, but he felt he didn't have it. But he pulled it down, evaded some pressure, and scrambled for the first down. And then to get to the obvious ones, the Alec Iomanor helmet pin catch, that happened on 3rd and 6. You're taking a shot on that drive. That was the Shimere DK non-touchdown return that got called back for bit of a I won't get too much into it. Maybe a bit of a wishy-washy call. It sounds like they enforced the rule correctly, in all honesty. But, they bounce back from that. Don't let it bother them. They convert the 3rd and 6 on the helmet pin catch. And then it's 3rd and goal just a couple plays later and the red zone. And I said it to my buddy. And my buddy said, relax. So how many quarterbacks make that play on 3rd and goal? It's the Josh Allen's and the Patrick Mahomes of the world that make that play. So I thought Cam Ward was phenomenal in this first half. It's everything you want to see from who you hope to be your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And he was making plays, and like you said, he was making stuff happen when the play broke down. That 4th down was a great example of it, but he was doing that constantly. The touchdown, obviously, another example of it. And you can see him directing Iomanor as he's scrambling outside the pocket before he rips that ball all the way across the field. A dangerous play, admittedly, to rip it all the way across the field like that. But this is what we've seen him do countless times in college. We saw a few times where he did it, throughout training camp in the preseason. And here we get to see it translate to real success in an NFL game. And I thought that was, a really encouraging sign. The Titans offense a lot better this game on 3rd down. Last week, what were they, 2 of 15 or 2 of 13? They only converted 2 third downs last week. They convert 6 in this game, but the end of game final numbers don't look great because they end up 6 of 15. Is there some interesting numbers I want to go through as I'm looking at the box score here? The Rams only had 4 more first downs than the Titans in this game, 22 first downs to 18 first downs. And the Titans only allowed 2 first downs because of penalty this week, which is, you'd still rather that number be 1 or 0, but that's a far improvement from where they were last week. Titans as a team, only 62 penalty yards in this game. They still did get flagged 10 times, which is too many, but only 62 yards, a little more than half as many penalty yards as last week. But what jumps out to me in this box score, Titans end up running 5 more plays than the Rams, but get outgained by nearly 200 total yards, 439 yards of offense for the Rams, 252 for the Titans offense. And I think, Cam Ward didn't have a great second half. He didn't have a lot of opportunity to have a great second half because the Titans defense fell apart in the second half. They just gave up long drive, touchdown drive, field goal drive after a long drive. They could not get a stop in the second half. They were, in position to give up 40 points here, but Sean McVay was kind of like granted them some courtesy to just let the clock run out and not go for that last touchdown because it could have been a 40-burger here for the Rams. So I think overall my feeling about this game is that this is, we were hoping the Titans would come out and win this game. They were outmatched, severely outmatched against what we talked about, a potential playoff caliber, Super Bowl caliber team, and the Titans are not that. So the fact that they were competitive in the first half is encouraging, but the defense, what we expected going into the season, Justin, just couldn't get off the field.
Yeah, I thought, they missed Tavondre Sweat in this one. Certainly the run defense was really bad. It got worse in the second half. It was really terrible. I felt like every Rams run went for 7 to 10 yards.
They allowed 6 yards per carry, 149 rushing yards on 25 attempts.
I'll say this. When you're that terrible, I don't think it's as simple as Tavondre Sweat. I think there are some other issues. I think a talent issue. They could not get guys to the ground. They could not tackle. 45 yards of those rushing yards allowed happened on the Puka Nacua 4th down run. Where this isn't coaching. Where Xavier Woods, I get it, plays it really aggressively. He's trying to make the stop on 4th down, but he misses. And instead of being a loss of 2 and a turnover on downs, it's a 45-yard. There's 45-yard rushing yards right there. But that wasn't the only one, right? In the second half, there was consistent issues, I thought, with the run defense. And one of my biggest concerns, in all honesty, because a lot of people are going to blame it on the T'Vondre Sweat absence, but I think it was so bad that it's probably not that simple.
I 100% agree. This isn't because of one player. T'Vondre Sweat doesn't play 100% of snaps anyway. This was a team breakdown across the board. And, the Rams have a very diverse running game. They run powers, they run zone runs, they run counters. They get you all kinds of ways. They get the ball in the hands of their playmakers like Puka Nacua on that 45-yard touchdown. So it's a complex run game to defend. But it wasn't just the run defense, Justin. It was the defense overall. Titans get 1 sack in this game, a play where Amani Hooker barely gets a hand on Stafford's back, and he sort of trips as he's stepping up in the pocket. That was their only sack. They didn't get a lot of pressure in this game overall. Matthew Stafford was 23 of 33 for 290 yards and 8.5 yards per attempt. The only good play really in the passing game, I guess there was 2. There was a couple, maybe 3. There was a couple 3rd and goal stops where the Titans had good coverage and forced field goals. The Rams, by the way, only 3 of 6 in the red zone. 6 red zone trips is too many to give up. But holding them to 3 field goals is a decent defense there, and it was really the end of the game when the Rams broke through. But you can't give up 8.5 yards per pass attempt and 6 yards per rush attempt. Oh, sorry, the third good play in pass defense was Cody Barton, obviously, jumping up to make that interception. A really nice play by him right before the half that allowed the Titans to go get that field goal and take the lead. Let's talk about that sequence. Let's transition to Brian Callahan, Justin, and talk about the end-of-half sequence here, because Titans get the ball back with, 30-something seconds on the clock. They get down after the penalty to, the 32-yard line with 23 seconds left. Is that right?
That's correct. So I think the way I have it is they actually got that ball at the 46 with 26 seconds left. They throw the ball quickly to Io Manor. They got that penalty down the sideline, which I thought was kind of lucky that went in their favor, to be honest. 50-50 call. But they get that penalty. They get the ball on the 32 with 23 seconds left, and I believe they had 2 timeouts still.
Yes, and then they proceed to run the ball twice before kicking the field goal, 37-yard field goal, as time expires. Look, I know you have a rookie quarterback. I know you're missing your best offensive lineman. I know you're going up against a Super Bowl caliber team. But you got 23 seconds to try to make something happen, and you run the ball twice and kick the field goal. Now, I'm torn on this one because on the one hand, I'm like, it's okay. It's the first half. You have an opportunity to get out of the half with points. You don't want to take a sack. We saw it happen last week where you get pushed out of field goal range. You don't want any disaster things to happen. You definitely don't want to turn the ball over. You want to come away from that possession. You want to convert that turnover that you just forced into points of some kind. So on the one hand, I'm like, I get it. You can just take that to half and kick the field goal. That's fine. But on the other hand, you're playing a Super Bowl caliber team. You had the number 1 overall pick last year. You're outmatched in every facet of the game, and you have an opportunity to go steal some points here. At least take a couple of aggressive shots and, let Cam know, remind him right before the snap, hey, we don't want to lose the field position we have. We can't take a bad sack here. We can't put the ball in harm's way. If there's nothing open down the field, just launch it out of bounds. But at least have the play called where you can be aggressive and take the opportunity to try and get more than 3 points out of that. Because at the end of the day, just like last week, you're not going to beat this team with field goals alone. And the Titans only score 1 touchdown. It's nice that they finally get into the end zone here. But another game where they kick 4 field goals and only score 1 touchdown, you got to score touchdowns to win in this league. And the Titans had a chance, and they didn't even try. So, again, I'm torn. I can see the argument for and against. But I wish they had at least let him throw down the field at least once or twice there. You have your timeouts. You have time to try something.
I think Titans fans are probably going to be upset about this one. And part of me thinks it has to do with being able to, it's popular and easy to dump on Callahan right now. But I'll be honest, I didn't take a huge issue with this. I can meet in the middle and say maybe, take a shot on first down because you're at the 32, 42, 52. That's a 49-yard field goal from the 32. The way Joey Sly is kicking this ball, you don't want to take a sack. But if you lose 5-10 yards, you're still in Sly range and you've still got 2 downs to try to get something back. So I think they probably should have taken a shot on first down. But, you talk about come away. They did come away with points. They did convert that opportunity, right? They did convert the opportunity that was given to them that shouldn't have been given to them, right? But, very uncharacteristic Matthew Stafford interception on that previous play. And he got dumped on. Callahan did so badly after the end of half sequence last week. That I'm not, for going aggressive, right? Why wasn't he conservative? Why did he? It's like it results, right? Sometimes swing how you feel about these things. I thought getting points out of that was important. Yes, again, I think maybe on first down, if you get a 15-yard completion on that first down, you're on that 15, 16-yard line. Okay, now you're thinking we're going, right? And if you don't get it, you got second and third down. So I would have maybe taken a 10, 15-yard completion or tried to get that on first, and then you can make your decision. But I didn't think – look, you could have Andrew King here in the comments. You could take issue with it. I'm not going to push back too hard on it. But I don't think this was an egregious error by Brian Callahan, right? I don't think they got the points and they took the lead into half against a good team.
But you have to wonder if this is too much of a reaction to what happened last week. And that's where I don't want him to
maybe,
sure, but you hear this all the time. You have to be consistent. And he has to be consistent. If he's going to be a guy who trusts his offense and calls things aggressively, then be that. If you're going to overreact and swing the other way because you had a bad sequence of plays the week before, that to me is just a bad sign, not confident in what you're doing and the pendulum swinging too far in either direction. We don't know if that's the case. This may just be who Brian Callahan is. And I think we should talk about who Brian Callahan is. Brian Callahan is 3-16 now as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He has had a couple of games where he looked competitive and came away with the loss, whether it was because of his quarterback or just the failing of the team overall. But I think at the end of the day, as you said, Callahan's catching a lot of flack for this game and for the Titans losing this game. At the end of the day, there wasn't anything egregious that Callahan did wrong. I mean, if this end of half sequence is the biggest thing we can come up with, then Callahan was decent overall as a coach in this game. I thought he did set up the offense for success in the first half. The problem is in second halves, Callahan's got to get something going on offense. And I did like that we see the team go to empty and spread things out and let Cam Ward get the ball out of his hands quickly. But they did it too late, I felt like. They were really dedicated to the run. And the Titans had a great drive going on the drive where they went up 16-13. That was an 11-play, 35-yard drive. They just ran out of steam because Cam Ward took a sack on a play where there was offensive holding that was declined anyway, as my dog starts barking, sorry. Melo, you talk. I'm going on mute.
I don't think that's a big. We're live. People know that's not a big. Everyone's got dogs in the comments. I don't think anyone cares about the dog barking. One thing one of my buddies pointed out to me that I do think is important to mention, that second half, I think you can put a little bit of it on Callahan, but probably not all of it. They had 34 yards of offense before the Rams went soft. I calculated it. 34 yards of unacceptable, completely unacceptable. But I thought Cam Ward was fantastic in this game, but let's be a little honest. He had the lost fumble that happened in a very key moment. That game was still a close game when that happened. That kind of busted it open for the Rams, right? So that was a mistake. And then when he missed Chimere DK on the sideline, that was his one miss the whole game, right? But he kind of held on to that ball for a while. I thought he was going to run it. I think he saw him a little late. I thought if he ran it, he would have got positive yardage. He made the right decision trying to hit the throw because the throw would Clay and Hale would have great because your dog coach sounded pretty loud in there, probably more vocal than Callahan. But if he ran it, he would have got positive yardage. With that said, if he completed the throw to DK, it would have been even more yardage, right, than he would have run. So right decision to throw it. He just missed it, and he's got to hit it. And it hurt, right? They were kind of backed up on their own end. That would have been like a 15 to 20-yard gain, I believe, would have brought them out to about the 30-yard line. Would have felt like that drive had started. But after that miss, it never really got off the ground.
Yeah, I don't want to put any blame for the loss on Cam Ward. I think if you're divvying up blame here, it's 75% on the defense because you can't allow 33 points. And we talked about the yards per play. Did I mention the yards per play? I'm not sure I mentioned the yards per play disparity in this game. Total yards per play, any play, pass or run. Rams average 7.4 yards per play. Titans average 3.9. You're not going to win a football game like that. You're just not going to. Allowing 7.4 yards per play. That's crazy.
Sorry, just so many chunk plays given up. I said a lot by the run defense, but honestly, the passing defense gave up a ton too. The Rams had a touchdown drive. I believe it took 4 plays, didn't it? And it was explosive pass, explosive run, easy throw. So it's stuff like that. You can't have it. You can't have it.
Yeah, I don't know.
What did I say last week? I said to you last week, like, I'm pumping the brakes on the defense. I think, Bo Nix missed a lot of throws last week. Kenneth, I'm going to call you out for the comment right there. I'm going to call you out, Kenneth, because, we noticed Dan Moore once in this game, did we not? On the sack that he gave up, flagged for a hold, still gave up the sack to Josiah Stewart, rookie pass rusher out of Michigan. But Dan Moore was a non-issue in this game. I mean, credit where it's due. We wanted to dump on him last week. If you get 15, 16 more games out of Dan Moore like this one, I think you're pretty happy, right? Like, we didn't call his name the whole game until the one we called his name once. Dan Moore was fine.
And we're talking about, a top 5 pass rushing team in the NFL, a team that had 16 sacks in 2 playoff games last year and returned all those players to the front. So, like, if he's only given up 1 sack in a game like this, we know Dan Moore's not a premier left tackle in the NFL. We know there are going to be some deficiencies at both tackle spots. And I actually thought, the John Ojukwu he started the game pretty terribly, but he wasn't a major factor. I didn't think the Titans tackle play individually was a major factor. Now, I did think Cam Ward was under pressure a few too many times with receivers not getting separation quick enough, and there were plays like that in this game for sure where the offense you can tell they don't have the same level of talent as the great offenses in the league. They don't have anybody that can break the game open with one play and just take it to the house, except for maybe Shimere Dike, who had a punt return that was called back. You want to talk about that briefly? You mentioned it already, but it was definitely a penalty. I mean, was that Cedric Gray, I think? It was definitely a penalty.
Cedric Gray.
Threw his shoulder into the guy. The worst part of the penalty was it was unnecessary. DK was already way past him. And sometimes I wish that they would just let a penalty go if it doesn't actually impact the play. But if I'm a Rams fan, I'm not saying that. So
maybe I'm too biased, but I'll say this. I think they enforced it correctly, it sounded like. But I didn't think that should be I don't think the definition of the penalty should be that. They called it a backside
illegal blindside block, which means you're running back towards your own end zone to make the block, which he was actually not. He was definitely going laterally.
Listen, if you're coming, I think that should be a penalty when you blindside a guy. Right. I think if you see someone coming at you, when they do that from behind, even when they do that from this, you sometimes see that from the side angle where they just light a guy up and the guy's got no chance to protect himself. That's absolutely a penalty. When you see a guy coming at you head on forward, I don't quite understand why that's a penalty. I don't necessarily agree that that's a penalty.
Sounds like Callahan is talking right now as we record this show. And I'm taking you at your word, Jacob Neal. So hopefully you're giving us good information. Callahan apparently said he wanted to make sure we had the lead instead of taking a shot, referring to the end of half sequence. And this is everything we just talked about. He's afraid of Ward taking a sack or turning the ball over. So he just wants to take the easy points. And I get it. It's a tie game. You're playing pretty well. You take the lead into halftime like that. But at the same time, you can take a couple of shots. It is cowardly coaching.
One shot. I would have taken maybe one shot.
Maybe one shot, yeah. Again, you're already in field goal range. You don't need to run the ball for 3 yards to put your...
They were in field goal range. But yeah, you're about 5-6 yards within Sly's maximum, what you think might be the maximum comfortable range. But I think he's a human being. I think... not only what happened at the end of the first half last week where we all dumped on him for all the passing attempts, but there was also the drive that they started in Broncos possession. Broncos side of the field. Sorry, the
Rams
already getting to me. Broncos,
Rams.
No. I said last. No, I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about last week. Sorry.
Where they started that possession in the Broncos side of the field, and they didn't. And we said, why didn't he run it? And they took a couple sacks, and they were out of field goal range. Right? I think those two things that happened last week probably impacted it a little bit today. Again, you're allowed to take issue with it, but it's really, I think you're overreacting slightly because it's so easy to dump on him right now because of what happened last week. You're okay to say he probably should have taken a shot on first down, okay? But this is not an egregious error. You're playing a phenomenal football team. There's 25 seconds left. You're on the 30. You got a good kicker. You took a couple sacks last week that knocked you out of field goal range. I didn't have a huge issue with it. Again, conceding first down, you could have tried something, but I did not have a huge issue with this.
Yeah, and again, if that's the biggest issue we have, then that is what it is. Let's get some comments in here, some questions here, as we quickly discuss what I'll call and what we've done for a long time. Justin, we haven't done it yet this year. We didn't do it last week because we were just so pissed off at Brian Callahan blowing the game. But silver linings. Let's take away.
Has it not been a year?
We probably didn't do much of it last year. Yeah, I don't know. Let's get into our silver linings from this game. The rookie class continues to stand out. I mean, we talked about Cam Ward's first touchdown. We talked about the play that set up the first touchdown, both made by Alec Iamaner, the one-handed helmet pinning David Tyree style catch along the sideline, working, following his quarterback's point as Cam Ward scrambles out of the pocket to get in position and then going up and making that play. He did have one potential catch down the field later on a third down that he let get out of his hands. I mean, it was a tough catch. He went up for it. But winning contested balls multiple times, not every time, but multiple times, being there on the back shoulder for that early third down conversion. I thought Alec Iamaner really stood out as a potential, impact playmaker in the passing game. He finishes this game with 4 catches for 56 yards and the touchdown. Calvin Ridley actually ended up leading the team in receiving with 57 yards, so just 1 yard more than Alec Iamaner. And he wasn't the only rookie who contributed. We mentioned Chimere Dike getting involved a little bit more on offense. He had a 5-yard run. He had a couple of carries in the end-around game. He had a punt return called back, a touchdown in the punt return called back. He was good at kickoff returns. He was good at punt returns. Even that one of those last drives, he catches the punt at the 6-yard line and gets it out past the 20 to give the Titans some breathing room there, and they just can't get it. I think that was when Cam Ward got strip sacked. They just can't get anything going. So, but bright spots, Gunnar Helm catching Cam Ward's falling down underhanded flip pass, which I love how Cam Ward does the things that Will Levis did last year, except Cam Ward actually converts them into positive plays, whereas Will Levis would have turned the ball over in those moments. It is unfortunate that Ward was strip sacked and that ball ended up in the Rams' possession, because that was the difference in the game, really, at the end of the day. If the Titans had been able to muster a drive there, they could have gone and tied the game. But that's sort of the story of Brian Callahan's Titans, is they don't come up in the big moments. They don't come up in the fourth quarter and make a play. They had the biggest negative, I think, biggest net point differential negatively in the fourth quarter last season. They continue to have a negative point differential overall and in the fourth quarter this season. Let's see what kind of questions we have in the chat. Justin, if you want to take, he thought this was silver. Alex thought this was silver linings. Justin, give us some silver linings, and I'm going to look through the chat for some questions.
Well, I thought Cam Ward looked every bit of a franchise quarterback. I mean, that comes first and foremost, right? I texted again. I love getting an outsider perspective. I texted a Rams buddy of mine who's a really, really smart football guy, was roommates with Dorial Green Beckham. So here's the random fact for you. But was roommates with Dorial Green Beckham at university when he went to college down there in the States. But he texted me. He goes, "Dude, Cam Ward is awesome." He goes, "I'm so impressed. I thought he was phenomenal. I mean, too nitpicking. The lost fumble, it happens. I don't think he had anywhere to go with that ball. It's a shame, but not the end of the world, I thought, on that. But and then the miss to Chimere Dike, 2 bad plays for Cam Ward. How many positive? A ton of positive plays for Cam Ward in this game. I would say upwards of 7 to 10, real positives, difference-making positives in this game for him. So I was really impressed with him. Rookie class in general, Alec Iamaner making those 2 plays were huge. Thought that was phenomenal look, Alec Iamaner may never be a number 1 elite receiver, but I'm very confident already that they're going to have, we'll look back from 3 years from now and say they got great value in the 5th round from Alec. This is a fourth round, starting caliber, top 3 wide receiver drafted in the 4th round. Chimere Dike, huge positive. I don't care about the penalty. The fact remember how worried we were about the whole James Prochet situation. Chimere Dike has been so good at the return game, quickly made us forget about that. I know he's, kind of raw as a route runner because of what happened, the way he was used at Florida last year, I meant to say, but I think he's earned more opportunities on the offensive side of the ball. I'd like to see more Chimere Dike as this year progresses. So Cam Ward, silver lining. Overall rookie class, I think a huge silver lining. I thought Tony Pollard ran the ball pretty good. He was physical. He was aggressive in this game. 10 penalties, way too much. I do want to address this slightly because I think Titans fans are going to blow this out of proportion a little bit. We had the Cedric Gray horse collar. There was a horse collar right at the end of the game. We had a horse collar at the end. I mean, game was over. They happen when you're trying to make a tackle late. I don't take huge issue with that. You had the Cedric Gray wishy-washy on special teams that they enforced the rule correctly, but I didn't take huge issue with it. You had a James Williams holding penalty on special teams. I mean, show me a team in the NFL that doesn't get holding penalties every single return. Like, I don't think the Titans were as sloppy from a penalty perspective in this game as fans are going to make it out to be, because the 13 penalties last week is fresh on our mind and we're angry and we want to call them sloppy and undisciplined. And I think, they had 10 penalties. 4 of them don't bother me at all. Cowboys just won the game in overtime, by the way. But, I don't think the penalties were as much of an issue as the box score indicates, or as much as Titans fans are going to make it sound. I saw you put up a question. Any silver linings on defense? I'll be honest with you. L'Jarius Sneed gave up that touchdown, but he had several good moments. And this was the best game L'Jarius Sneed has played in a Titans uniform. That's not saying much, but we got to see the snap counts. But I think he probably played more snaps than I expected him to. I thought he was pretty freaking good in coverage, fairly good. I mean, there was a drive in the red zone where back-to-back he made plays in the end zone, incompletions. And on that same drive, I mean, Devontae Adams had a sliver of separation. The ball went through his hands a little bit, but he was in pretty good position, right? Like, I thought a silver lining was if L'Jarius Sneed could build on this performance, that was a huge, huge positive for them at cornerback.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I mean, I don't know how you can disagree. He did give up the touchdown there in single coverage on a blitz, like a cover zero blitz look on that 3rd and goal. But overall, I mean, the game, they needed to hold him to a field goal there, but the game was slipping away after Cam Ward was strip sacked anyway. So I'm not going to hold him. It's sort of the same pattern we've seen a lot of times with this team, where they make the stops until the offense stops supporting them, and then they just can start to fall behind, and then they start to give up the bigger plays, and that seemed to be what happened in this game. What coaching advantage is there to only calling run plays on first down the entire second half? I mean, I don't think that is a very representative of what actually happened. That's bad memories sticking out, like bad plays sticking out more. There were definitely some first down pass plays in the second half, but overall, you're trying to mitigate this pass rush. You're trying to move the ball the best way you can. And Pollard was running effectively for the majority of this game. So I actually didn't have that much of a problem with the quote unquote conservative offense. Against this kind of defense, you have to be a little conservative or you're going to get strip sacked. And there was the drive where they mounted something where they kicked the field goal to get to 16 points was mostly done on the ground. And then on a second down, they drop back to pass and Cam Ward gets sacked for a 6-yard loss. Like, that's what happens when you don't stay consistent with the run game. Not that I think they should have run it on every down, but that felt like the kind of drive where they could have run it almost every down or worked in some play action, quick access screen, quick game type stuff where Cam Ward doesn't have to take a real drop back and you never have to put him at risk for a whole drive and you get all the way down the field. At least they got into field goal range on that one, but it was a bummer that they couldn't convert that into more points. This looks like the exact same thing that we had under Vrabel. Nothing has improved at all. I mean, I would say most of the team is worse than they were under the majority of the Vrabel era, so that's even worse. It's bad when you start a game and there's 4 penalties immediately. I totally agree. I mean, that had me laughing at how bad it was.
They did get it a little under control. And the Zeitler penalty, I thought, again, I don't know that he was ineligible downfield. Like, did he run downfield immediately? I thought that was a very weird call. Then a Njoku false start, like, look around the NFL. Like, I saw a tweet, I almost tweeted it. James Hudson, backup tackle starting for the Giants, had 4 penalties on 1 drive or something. Like, that's a reserve right tackle who's really antsy in his first game, right? Like in his first career start, I don't know if Njoku's ever started a game. So against a really good pass rusher. So like, they're sloppy, but some of the right tackles. Melo, what beer are you drinking? You're going to be disappointed in 92 Green Dogs because you can't get this. This is Blood Brothers, a brewery here in Toronto, Canada, who, I'll be honest with you. I mean, if you've ever been to Toronto or you're coming, I would put them up against any brewery I've ever had in the world. They are truly phenomenal. This is called Devil's Trill Coupe de Trail. It's a double IPA. That's an 8% IPA with Cryo and Idaho 7 Cascade and Citra Hyper Boost. hops. It's getting to me already because 8% is a lot in one year, and I'm 125 pounds, so I don't know what else you expect from me. But this is a phenomenal beer. If you're coming to Toronto, make sure you grab it.
The bubble screens always seem to be called at good times. The blockers just always get blown up. Poor execution. I put this in our group chat in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Going back to last week and this week, literally every screen, it doesn't matter who's blocking. Yes, it happened to Chig a couple of times in this game, as DJ points out, but it also happened to DK last week, Aya Manor maybe last week, Ridley or somebody else this week, or Lockett or Jefferson. I don't know who it is, but it doesn't matter who the lead blocker is on these bubble screens. They are getting thrown into the receiver every single time. It's crazy. That's not on Callahan. You have to run some screens to mitigate this pass rush. You got to get the ball out of Ward's hands quickly and take advantage of the defense aggressively pursuing the rush upfield to get behind them. Like, I don't have a problem with the screen calls. I have a major problem with the execution of the screen calls. And it's not even like it's not like little details or not knowing your assignment or being at the wrong time. It's literally just getting bodied, just getting the other guy wants it more and he's running through your chest. And I think who was commentating last week? Mark Sanchez, I think, pointed it out that when it happened to Aya Manor last week, he was sort of sitting back waiting for the defensive back instead of aggressively running forward and getting some blocking momentum going. So maybe that's the issue. Maybe every receiver is just not being coached to run down the field. Like, there's no illegal man downfield. If you're the receiver on a screen, you're allowed to be downfield. There is a potential for pass interference if you go initiate your block before the ball is caught. Maybe they're worried about that. But whatever it is, they got to get the screen game figured out. All right, we're going to take one or two more comments here and get out of here. But overall, I just want to say, like, again, because this is a comment that I actually liked. Hang on, give me a sec to find it. We sound like a small college team who goes into the half only down 7 to a ranked team. Quote, we were really happy to hang with them as long as we did, but we couldn't compete with their recruiting and NIL. Well, first of all, look, the Titans were up at halftime. They weren't down 7 to a ranked team. They were up. That's a big difference. Second of all, as we said at the top of the show, the Rams were one play away from going to the Super Bowl last year. The Titans had the number 1 overall pick last year. These are two franchises in very different stages of the process, okay? Yes, the Titans should be happy to be competitive against a potential Super Bowl team when they are coming off having the number 1 pick. Like, we predicted the Titans to win this game on our preview show just because it felt like a weird, like, that's what happens in the NFL sometimes is week 1 and week 2 can also be weird. But at the end of the day, if you were really expecting the Titans to win this game, then you're not being realistic with where the team is at in the rebuilding phase. This is not the kind of game that we're going to look back on and say Brian Callahan shouldn't be the head coach. If all the games are like this, I mean, they got to be better in the second half and they got to cut down on some penalties. But if all the games are like this, at the end of the season, we're going to say Callahan gets another year, right? I mean, it wasn't like there was egregiously bad stuff. They got to be better in second halves than they were today, for sure. But it's not like, I mean, it's not like they were a disaster. It's not like they didn't look like a professional franchise. They just ran out of steam in the second half against a better team.
I'm with you 100%. Like, I'm sorry, Joey. Like, we would all love the Titans to be Super Bowl contenders this year, but it's just the reality of the situation they find themselves in. This is a bad roster with a very patient GM who wants to conduct this rebuild the right way. And Cam Ward looked phenomenal in this game for like 98%. Like, he had 2 negative plays, like 98% of this. He was phenomenal. So, and you see some rookie receivers making plays. Like, you see the pathway forward. Right. You just got to be patient. It's just going to take some time to get there. But I'm glad you're on the same page because I didn't know if I was alone. But like, I feel way better after this loss than I felt after the Denver loss. Because with that one, when you create 4 turnovers, I feel like no matter where you are in the rebuilding stage, you got to find a way to pull that game out. Right. So I felt a lot better about this one than I did last week.
Again, it's not about the results. And like we said this all offseason coming into the year, it's not about the win-loss column this season. Unfortunately, we'd love them to be in the place where it is. And
comment by Joey. He did clarify here. Like, you're right, Joey. I think we're on pretty similar pages here.
And that's just like, you know, we want to see the team play better than they did last year and than they did last week. Like last week, it was the way that they lost that was so frustrating. It wasn't the fact that they came out of the game with an L. the way they lost this game is frustrating because they couldn't get a stop when they needed to. And then when they did get the ball back in position to go tie or take the lead, they couldn't get the drive going when they needed to. But those are moments that they need to grow into to be able to execute in those big spots. And they just aren't there yet. And that's okay. If every game looks like this one, not every game is against a playoff caliber or Super Bowl caliber team. Titans I wouldn't call it a break next week because the Colts have looked really good to start the season. And as we record this, they are winning 13-7 over the Broncos, who the Titans lost to last week. And their defense looks a lot better than it did last year under Lou Anarumo's direction. So Titans will have another stiff challenge the next 2 weeks with the offense going against really good defenses. But the schedule will lighten up, and we might get to see some growth. And I think at the end of the day, even though the Titans are 0-2, it's nice to see Cam Ward. It's good for Cam Ward's development to go through this challenge to start the season, because almost every game from here on out is at least going to be a little easier than the first two. I don't have much more to say, Justin. Do you want to get your final thoughts out and we can wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the most important thing is through 2 games, don't lose sight of what was important this season. I'm very confident that Cam Ward is a franchise quarterback. That's the way that he's looked through 2 games against what I reckon is going to be 2 of the top 10 defenses in the NFL this year, and the Broncos will probably be top 5, if not even a little better than that. So I think Cam Ward has aced both tests with flying colors, given all the challenges. Justin, you need to analyze our lack of pass rusher. I'll do it quickly here, Alex. I agree. I don't know that a Titans edge rusher was ever close to Matthew Stafford today. Arden Key, Draymond. I didn't see Draymond Jones the whole game. I'm going to be 100%
except for when he was offsides.
Oh yes, he got the offside penalty. I didn't. Was that Draymond? I thought that was Arden Key.
No, it was 45.
Okay,
Draymond Jones.
I did not see Arden Key. I only saw Femi Oladejo because I was purposely looking for him. But it would have been nice to see someone the edge room is as bad as we thought it was. I've got a mock draft coming out tonight on the draftnetwork.com. And you bet your ass. I completed it 2 days ago. You bet your ass I mocked a edge rusher to the Titans in the top 10. So they didn't do it. No, absolutely, Joey. They didn't do anything at all. This pass rush is absolutely as bad as we thought it was going to be. I thought I thought Amani Hooker, not pass rush obviously, but I thought Amani Hooker, I thought Roger McCreary, Cody Barton, they all made a couple plays on defense. But it was Hooker who got the sack. Correct.
Right. Simmons had a good game. Let's be real. Jeffrey Simmons was dominant on the inside in this game. He didn't get enough help from everyone else. And the philosophy to get bigger on the edges to stop the run is not working thus far. We'll see how.
Jahad Ward either, by the way. That's another.
Yeah, same.
They brought him in to be a big run defender, and I didn't see him.
And just to the comments, I'm sorry I missed them earlier, but there's been a couple about how Femi seems like a wasted pick. It's week 2 for a rookie who's making a position switch. We can't judge whether or not Femi is a wasted pick on 2 weeks.
I said this on 104.5 The Zone a couple weeks ago when I did a guest spot on the Zach Lyons and Blaine Cover 2 show. My biggest issue with the Femi Oladejo pick, and it's still an issue that I have today, is a team that knew they needed help right away at that spot took a guy that was going to take time, that was going to need time, and thrust him into a position where they needed him right away. I'm a big fan of what Mike Borgonzi did this offseason, believe it or not. That's the one question that I have. Now, for him, if you talk to him privately and he could be as honest as he'd like to be, maybe he would say, well, we don't, he's going to play, take his bumps. We don't care if he's not that impactful this year. We think he's going to be impactful in year 2 and 3, and that's really where we're gunning for when we're going to, we're aiming to make progress. But anytime you take a guy that's raw and you ask him to play right away, there are some challenges that come with that. That was my biggest issue. Femi Oladejo's on the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's running rotation in behind a couple of pass rushers. That was the ideal landing spots for Femi, was a team that's got pass rushers.
Well, here's what I'll say to that. This is the spin, and this is 100% spin, so take this with a little grain of facetious salt here. If Femi Oladejo needs a whole year to really become an impactful player, which he probably does, then the Titans are essentially kicking last year's second-round pick down the road 1 year, and you continue to be bad at the edge position this year. You lose more games. You end up with a higher draft pick. And next year, if Femi Oladejo takes a leap, then it's like you're injecting an additional second-round pick into next year's team after you get another set of high draft picks. Look, if you look at the recent teams that have really turned things around and rebuilded and been amazing, they have hit on their high draft picks. That is the first step to rebuilding a team, is you have to get guys in that can be stars, that deserve extensions, that can be foundational players. And if you just look back at the Titans' last 3 drafts, they hit on Peter Skoronski, they hit on J.C. Latham, and we think, it's too early to say this, but I've been on the train since January, so I'm just going to say it. They hit on Cam Ward, right? If those 3 things continue to be true and you get another round of high picks next year, then this team can really start to become something. And they still need playmakers on the outside, and they still need edge rush help, and they could probably use another corner, but those are the things you're going to continue to add as this team rebuilds. Right now, they need to learn how to win a game, and I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to be looking for the rest of the season. As much as wins and losses don't matter, and they don't matter. If they only win 5 games, it doesn't matter. But they need to go win 5 games. They need to, it's a shooter needs to see the ball go through the net to get on a heater. They need to see the scoreboard with them winning a game. That needs to happen at some point in the next month or so, or it's going to go off the rails. But from a big picture, broad standpoint, let's just continue to see growth. And I think we saw a little bit today. Well, we'd like to see more, obviously, but at the end of the day, is the Titans are just not good enough to compete with the Rams. And it is like you play this game 20 times, the Rams probably win 19, right? This is just what it is.
And look at what Cam Ward did. Look at what Shimmeré DK did. Alec Iomanner did. We are pretty confident Gunnar Helm's going to be a good draft pick as well. You keep building this the right way. They're probably going to have a fairly early pick. Looks like to be a good edge rushing class. The Auburn kid, Miami, Clemson. I think edge rusher, maybe wide receiver. I think not a great wide receiver class, but the Arizona State kid looks potentially special. Titans are going to have a good draft pick next year, and they're going to be better as this goes. We've just got to be patient.
Yeah, and he could be Kevin Dodd. Femi could be Kevin Dodd 2.0. That's definitely within play. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Dodd was an idiot, though, when it came to preparation.
Right.
Give a shit. Femi Oladejo has a very high give a shit factor, so we'll see.
People forget this team is roughly 4 years in the hole when it comes to talent from the draft and free agency. We literally got nothing at all from J-Rob's and even some of Rand's drafts. It's true. So that's just context. You got to keep that in perspective. It's going to be fun watching Cam Ward every week and reacting to what he does, but the team as a whole is going to frustrate us as fans this season, and it just is what it is. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Again, we are presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville. You can't get Melo's Toronto-based beer, but you can get just about everything else at Sinkers Beverages, so check them out. They're also on Uber Eats. That'll do it for this one. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be live every Sunday recapping whatever happens to the Titans, win or loss or tie. They could tie. That's possible. So we'll be back, but we will be back on Monday tomorrow with a more analytically deep dive into what went wrong for the Titans this game and what went right. So until then, you guys stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.